On this episode of Going Dork Reviews, we check out episode 5 of Lovecraft Country. What a great episode. Can't wait to get into it. In the guest seat again, as per usual, Mr. Sebastian Arnold. So let's get right to it.
Hop up in our spaceship, we got Sasquatch and Llama. One's a little shy, but the other's a real charmer. Pinball wizard pinging our planets at most. Another job done, hit the lights, close the blinds. Find a remote, let them know it's true crime, space fly shit.
Welcome to another episode of Going Dork Reviews. My name is Jeremy. Thank you so much for tuning in as we work our way through Lovecraft Country. With me, as always, for the entire series, Mr. Sebastian Arnold. How are you, Sebastian?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We're sort of getting into the, this is the halfway mark, basically. So we're getting there.
We're getting meaty. I feel a little bit more meaty.
And a lot of these doors that have been opened, I feel like are starting to get closed, especially this episode. In the end, there's a big reveal, which I won't ruin right now. But, there are spoilers ahead. So listeners, if you haven't seen the episodes, I recommend you go watch it first, them.
Please.
Steal your friend's HBO or something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with my favorite part, which is previously on Lovecraft Country. Last episode, we saw Christina mysteriously showing up on the Letty's doorstep, and later Letty confronted Atticus about his plan to return to Florida, which then is sort of instantly put on hold. And then later they do their best Indiana Jones impersonations and go in search of a missing pages. And Letty, Tick, and Montrose head to Boston with Hippolyta and Diana. And basically back in Chicago, it says, a handsome stranger nurses Ruby's disappointment over a squandered job opportunity. So that's sort of where we left it in the previous episode. There was some the Ruby angle was it's you see a car wreck in slow motion sort of happening.
Yes,
in that whole series, but. And then, we start this episode 5, Strange Case, in right sort of where we left it. We are in the mansion, and Ruby is waking up in a sexy circle bed. Now, I don't know if you know a lot about circle beds, but that means pure sex.
Well, I mean, I only know of them from photos of like the 80s and whatnot, and stories, I guess I could say. It was like goes right up there with I'd say like water beds,
or the ones you put like the dollar and quarters in and it shakes it.
Right.
A funny story before we get started about that. We were traveling as a family somewhere, and we stayed at a seedy hotel when we were kids, and we didn't have a lot of money, so we it was like a Red Roof Inn or whatever the shitty equivalent is. But then I think it was like an off-brand thing, and we go in, and me being the obviously right on brand, I see that this bed has the coin machines, and it was just the one that my mom and dad were sleeping on. I don't think ours had it, so at some point I found some change and turned it on, and it just went on and on forever, and they just thought it was the dumbest thing, and I was just like, I just had to see how it worked. I'd never seen this before. It's like the condom machines in the gas station bathrooms. It's like I was intrigued.
That's hilarious.
Anyway. Somewhat relevant.
How long did it last? If you don't know,
it was. I mean, I just remember them being like, "Why did you do this? It's still going." I mean, how long does sex last? That's probably what they have it attuned to. Yeah. But anywho, we start the episode in the mansion in Ruby's. Or in a huge circle bed, aka sex bed.
Yeah.
And we see someone waking up, and it's a white lady, and as soon as the eyes open, we sort of realize what's happening, that it's Ruby now waking up in her new skin.
Yeah.
And she becomes the lady we saw earlier from the Chop House, which must just be some sort of like transient, I don't know how, this is a deeper thing we can go into later, but I want to know more about, because she's now been 2 or 3 different incarnations of herself. Not only the person at the slaughterhouse, but here now as a main as
and I think that
Ruby's alter ego.
that goes. The reason for that can be explained by how all this actually takes place. Well, I guess we'll get into that when she figures that out. But as like, it was cool. Like again, I think the start of all these episodes is like, it's just I feel like more than jarring. Like I continue to say, it's like so much information in there that you don't know, that it's like once you watch it through, then watch it again. The beginning of the episode is like such a big, I feel like big moment, and kind of lets you know exactly where you're gonna go.
Right.
And with this one, with how the lady gets up and we begin to realize, and she realizes that it is Ruby and not some random lady, and how we obviously start to think, how is this taking place?
Yeah.
Why is this taking place? And what's going on, as she does. And she's as freaked out as I feel like we would be in this insane moment after just like having sex with a white man. It's just like you wake up, oh shit, I'm white. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, she goes to the mirror and just it says, "Wake up, Ruby, wake up." And we sort of realize sort of the gist of the situation here, that something strange has happened. From there, we see her go into town as her new self, and we see her sort of bumbling around the city or the town, and ends up at some point bumping into a young boy who is eating some popcorn and just walking, maybe going to a movie. So I don't know what he's coming from, a movie,
probably,
but bumps into him, and then it automatically becomes one of these, like, instantly a cop car just shows
appears.
Up. Just appears
just
from nowhere.
It's all
which
good.
has become sort of a thing in this. I feel like not the first time we've seen it.
It's a nice moment, I feel. Because this episode for me is like obviously Ruby's episode. Everybody has a part in it, but this is Ruby's episode. So it's nice for her. Like, we've been led to understand her character as being like, self-sufficient, independent woman type person. So it's nice to have her in this super odd position where she's like totally not knowing what's going on. And then just trying to go back to her community and not even connecting the dots that she's white.
Right.
And how that clashes. And then she sees just how white people are treated in these spaces. And it takes her saying something to save I wouldn't say save the boy's life, because he probably wouldn't kill him right there, but definitely save him from a hefty beating. I think he would have taken.
Pain and definitely suffering. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, even in the moment that she's like, what is going on with me? It's like, that's happening. And she's like, there's no rungs on the ladder pretty much for her to like hold any type of like safety with. And then she's just put inside this cop car.
Right. Yeah. So it bumps into the kid falls down, and the cops show up, basically blames the kid when he had nothing to do with it. And she sort of smooths it over, and they take pity on her, saying, "Oh, we'll get you back to your house and to your husband." And apparently the cops have been prepped as once we're in the cop car. She continues to sort of look at her hands and out the window, and she's like figuring all this out. But basically the cops have been prepped that she would have an episode, and that she might be out and about, and which obviously is a Braith White thing or a William thing, really. Yeah. Anyway, in the cop car, it's just a great placement of the "You Belong to Me" song in the car, and the cops are talking, and it's a very, you see that again, that juxtaposition between her in the back of the cop car. Yeah. Letty in the back of the cop car, and then her in the back of the cop car, which is like two and completely, it's like they're really selling the fact that, listen, you're about to experience some, the complete divide of what, complete opposite of what you're sort of used to. So, even still, she's helpless, and her not knowing what's going on drives her to like kind of try to get out of that situation as well. Right. Yeah. And
it's only them like being like, you just got to get you to your husband. He says you can take care of it and all this. And then that convulsing starts to take place with her body. And you're like,
oh, this is what he was talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah,
What? Because they like, this is an episode for real.
Yeah.
Like the way she's the crunching sound within her body is, I really enjoy that sound. It's like,
and we hear that a lot in this episode because it happens a lot, but it never
just
gets
sounds
old. It's
super
always
painful.
Yeah. Shout out to the ADR crew. I mean, that's probably like celery or something breaking, you know.
Right.
So let's see.
They take her back.
Yeah, so she gets back to the mansion, and we see she's starting to turn back into herself. William.
Well, I mean, at that moment, it's just we can't tell what's going on really, and then
that's true.
William takes her inside, and I feel like it's nice because it's like you said with the black lady or the black woman in the cop car, it was just a different type of thing than this. And even though this isn't a nice thing, you know what I mean? This is like, even in the white community, the woman is at odds in a certain type of way. And it's kind of showing how it's like she's hysterical and this man is just going to take her and like whatever happens type deal. So it's like he brings her to this room and she's going hysterical, not knowing what's going on. And then we just see him pretty much like tear open what we believe is Ruby at the moment. And I like a big part of this episode, as you were saying, is like the way they use obviously songs and audio recordings over things. But I think in this episode, they kind of went even more into it by using the television, because there's a couple moments with the television and what's being said on it as you're seeing it. Pretty much parallel with the action on the screen. And it just does such a great job, I feel like, of exemplifying what this whole episode is about. And because it's like so many butterflies are in there, they talk about cicadas a whole bunch, and the transformation is a huge part. And I think every main character in this episode or main storyline is about that transformation and how they take place.
Right. Yeah, I love the TV thing. I love the background where he's like, you know, he's in the background like shoving a knife into her chest, and in the foreground we see this TV talking about a news story about locusts coming to Britain. You know,
transform.
Just very incredibly relevant to what we're seeing. But yeah, so I guess from there we go back to, I guess we're at Letty's house still, is where they were, and we see Montrose, much different sort of in the last episode. You know, obviously the end of the last episode, we see him taking out Yahima, and that sort of isn't basically we see him now. He just seemed different now to me. I don't know if you got that sort of vibe where it was like he's very reserved.
100% agree. And that's kind of my point with saying like this episode is the transformation episode. All the people that they kind of set up for us that were in between who they are. Not to say that people that aren't, I mean, people, not every character is like that. A lot of them are, but like Montrose, especially Ruby, especially are people that have a couple sides and I haven't quite figured out how to handle those sides. So I totally agree that we see him and he was, I feel, up and happy to an extent in the last episode. And this one, he's kind of a little, well, not a little, but I feel very confused. And we start with seeing him contemplating the blood on his hands from the kill. And then the two, Letty and Tick come in. And it's nice because like we were saying, those two come in and they are together, you know what I'm saying? They feel happy.
Right.
And it's and again, like I said with the transformation, they've been on a push and pull this entire series. And at that moment they're like, oh, we're happy, we're coming in, we just went on that adventure, everything's good. And then they come into him and we find out the news, and then from that Tick just loses it.
Yeah, that sort of was weird to me. It's weird to me. I mean,
the explosion.
All he says is gone.
Yeah,
and then he just explodes. beating the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can, especially watching the entire episode, knowing it happens, like I can gather that, oh, he knows. He knows his, but how he knows that, why he knows that with just one word, I have no idea. But yeah, he just beats the shit out of him. And then Letty sort of stops it, and Tick freaks out and goes to the basement. But yeah, I just didn't know, like,
I think it doesn't. I think with Tick, he knows more than we know about him. I think.
Yeah.
Because like out of all the people, his history and what he does I feel like hasn't been as highlighted as the rest of the characters probably since the second episode. Like he's kind of moving in between, helping out, this, that, and the third. And on a mission, I feel like that people seem to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've seen with him, he's doing this in his mind at this point, at least on his own.
Right.
And that is the ultimate problem, I think, is the reason why at least he blew up in that manner.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's like he's getting close to something, and this dude is just like, I feel like giving him left turns after left turn, and it's just like each time that occurs to him, he freaks out more and more, and this was kind of the boiling point, I feel like.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to think just what, I mean, just the connection of him that he would make it that fast, it just seems off to me. But anyway, in the basement, we see Tick freaking out. He's demanding photos of Jahima. And then we see Letty has brought the bat with her. And I think it's sort of once he gets the sort of gist of like, hey, you're
freaking out.
You're going off the deep end here. He sort of gets the point and huffs out. But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thing, and she's I think explains to him that she does have stuff that she never exposed, so she'll get him the photos. But you know, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, why are you
another one of these
freaking out right now?
Yeah. Seemed a bit harsh, but
yes, I agree.
So we're back in the mansion bedroom, and William enters and talks with Ruby, and they sort of do a background on his research, William's research, and talk about butterflies and sort of the theme, like you were saying, the theme of the episode of being reborn or being, sort of using that magic.
The metamorphosis and whatnot, the changing of oneself.
Exactly. Says he met a disgraced professor named Hiram Epstein, and he wanted to understand the universe a little better. And he was the one apparently who created doorways, which I don't think is information we had before. I mean, we knew doorways could be open. We knew there was magic, but I didn't know if we'd ever had a name attached to it.
No.
So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Ruby asks if she's died. She thinks that this whole thing was just her dying and has been reborn to some sort of, vampire, zombie, whatever they are.
Yeah, right.
The Braithwaites. But he goes on to explain it's a metamorphosis. Like you said, it's a metamorphosis. And there's the great things about, I feel like this scene is her. Obviously, the number one thing that we want to know up to this point is like, tell me how it felt.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? For a black woman from the south side of Chicago to wake up one morning in a white body. And her line was great. It was, scared the shit out of me to be white. And she said the difference was they were scared for me.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an incredible line. Which is not the, obviously she's just explaining her experience, and like that, typically it seems to be that, and that still happens today. You know what I mean? Every day I read something about somebody being shot or somebody being, kneeled upon, and it's like it's the same thing we're talking about, and it's 150 years later.
That's the thing. It's like this will always be relevant, just because it's the divide, the way of life is drastically different, and good and bad ways. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not to say it's a deep thing. It's not just so blanketed. Like, There's always this bad stuff. And that's why her as a white person isn't just like, as soon as she's in a white body, she's like, oh my God, this is fantastic. This is great. You know, it's just like, it's in your body to be a little like apprehensive to the situation, whatever the situation is, and always be kind of like thinking twice about things. And that's not, as she grows to find out, the way that everybody lives. Not everybody's like that.
Right. She asks if she's tied, if she has to stay there, he explains that she's free to go.
It's all good.
Leaves a little pile of money and a little bottle of potion, and before she leaves, she leaves the money and grabs the vial. And that was the so basically she's saying, I don't want your handouts, but I will try this out.
I'll try this out. And it's this moment of her using or being the white woman, for me, is I just like how they gave you every single type. It's not like like I said, she didn't get into the white body and was like, oh my God, I love this, I'm gonna do this, that, and the third. I like that she like was freaked out, came back, took a second, and then intentionally goes into it in her own mind. And we get to see how she feels about doing this. And we can see she's quite pleased with how it feels to be in this skin and be able to do pretty much whatever she wants and just enjoy.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of her journey up until this point, which is like, she's been the rock of the family and keeping it all together. And she's incredibly talented and, just an incredible singer and performer. And really, you just felt for her when she wanted this job. And then it's like, oh, let's do a bat turn here. And like, like the story is going to follow her as she is in the skin of a white woman. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just, it's something you don't see on TV every day. I love it.
It was fantastic. And I mean, like she's the perfect person for us to see this through. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been the same if Letty was able to have this right now. It would have been different. It would have been a different type of thing. And I think Ruby going through this is exactly right. It's perfect.
Yep. We hear a great voiceover here from, I didn't know about this theater piece, but I guess it was a theater piece and then has been turned into other things. But When the Rainbow Is Enough, for Call Girls have considered suicide by, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Intozaki Change. I should probably, I'll learn that. I'll do better. But incredible, just incredible voiceover over this point of her being like, okay, let's do it. She gets some free ice cream. You know what I mean? Like there's no wait as of, we've seen before where,
there's no wait and he gave it to her for free
and it's free. Yeah. Which has a great line later. And then we see her in the park reading a newspaper and there's a play called Confidence Girl. And I didn't really get the connection there other than the seriously on the nose one about, she's confident. But I didn't know if there was any deep seated things back there. But
I think, as far as I could read into it, confidence coming from the con man. So one, you could use it as confidence. She is very confident in herself, but also conning. This you could think a little bit deeper because it's like, who could she be conning in this type of sense? You know what I mean? Because she is not obviously a white woman. But at the same time, the way that she is acting in this skin isn't quite true to herself.
Right.
So there's a lot of conning, I believe, going on, or confidence that is not quite deserved. I believe. So that's, for me, that's the way I look at it.
Right. I left that scene being like, okay, well, is this her now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she seemed, like the first time didn't seem to go well, but this time around, she's like,
she seems quite content.
She's certainly getting used to it. Back in the basement, Tick has calmed down. Letty approaches and hands him the roll of film. And sort of they get into a conversation about, if he would have killed his father. if she wouldn't have stopped, and he tells a little backstory of Montrose beating them, and says he certainly imagined it enough as a kid that he wouldn't do it in real life. And he there's a really good comment here about war, and sort of, he didn't think. It's like, my dad's an alcoholic, or was an alcoholic, probably he still is. I guess once you're always. And I guess part of, like me as the son, seeing all of what that does to a person, I never wanted to be a big drinker. I did drink a lot. Sometimes I drink too much, and quite often in college, all that sort of times you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But I could, like, at the end of the day, be like, all right, I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
And you certainly get that gist between that he's trying to be like, listen, I didn't want to go down that road, but then I went to war.
Yeah.
And he sort of found it inside himself because of that, which I thought was incredibly interesting.
I mean, I agree. Like, I feel like what you said was perfect, because for me, just to round out the bigger part of this, it's like they've been going back and forth in this moment. Like you said, I feel like the burst of anger is kind of justified because we see why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like he can't even control it. So it comes really in the most insane of times. He has been holding whatever he holds in his body, and then certain things will trigger it. And it has nothing to do with really anybody outside of him. It's just completely his own thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what scared her, and like really made her grab that bat and like be like, whoa, what's good?
Right.
And then this coming together that they do now is nice, because they come to an understanding with one another. And
yeah, she mentions, or he mentions, I don't want to ever scare you, or please don't be, he said, please don't be scared of me, I guess is what it is. And then we sort of realize that they've put that behind them. And as I put in my notes, he pulls her close and they make the fuck. And this is the sex scene we all wanted, right? This is the sex scene we wanted originally.
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad, because honestly, if I was watching this on my own, I wouldn't have even realized that the first one wasn't the one that I feel like we deserved as an audience.
Right.
So it was nice that I was really happy that you brought that to my attention, and then to see this one, I was like, yeah, you're very right, because this one is, even though it's as powerful, I'd say, it's much more sensual and much more together and loving.
Seems to be a two-party ordeal now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is what you always want to aim for. Exactly. Or 3, you know what I mean? 4, whatever. Yeah. But I'm just saying,
as long as everybody's
consent,
with it,
Yes. Do whatever you want. Just make sure there's consent. We get back to the mansion, and we see, I love this part too, where she's humming Devil in the Deep Blue Sea. Which I don't know. I just love that song. But and then William enters, and she has, at this point she's getting a little confidence, but she also brings up the fact that she knows she's not special as far as like, how Tick is, or how her family was, or any of that stuff. So she, her words are like, there are lots of black girls on the South Side. Why me? Mm-hmm. And he sort of William goes on to explain, why, and sort of
I mean, he kind of explains it halfway, but I like it because the explanation is so weak that it was nice that he was just like, but you got to do something for me. And that's when I was kind of like, okay, that makes more sense.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you wonder that too. It's like, are you just, in service of the mansion now, or whatever that group is called? Right. Or are you still your own person? Or, a lot of those questions were still in my head. But he proposes that he says he needs a favor, and then tells her that she can sort of come and go as she pleases, which is comforting. I'm sure.
I mean, it was nice, but it's like, now we can see this for what it is and kind of be like, okay, what could William want with her?
Right. And then there's a moment where, he brings up the fact that she didn't take any money, but she took the vial, and says she didn't need the money, and says that she paid for everything with whiteness. And this is where they start bringing up, they have a nice moment before the scene ends where she explains that Ruby just explains that she feels like she's always being interrupted. And so his question to her at the end of the scene is, what's next for Ruby uninterrupted?
Yeah.
Which it will, we'll play later too. But I thought that was a nice little, like, obviously he's giving her power as to say, like, hey, you have this thing now that gives you incredible power. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah. What's up?
It's sort of, we
were
talking before the podcast about the pandemic and getting work done, and like, it's sort of that, like, all right, you have the time now.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it?
What's up? Yeah. And it's nice though, because as we've known with Ruby, she's a forthright woman. You know what I mean? She knows what she wants to do. And we immediately see in the next scene with how the song comes in and everything. It's just like, she's come here to work. Like,
oh yeah,
she wants to work.
Yes. Yeah.
And excel like she wants to excel.
And it's we'll see this later in the episode too, but she's done it the right way too. She's done it the right way to get that job at Marshall Fields, but never did. Exactly. But anyway, so yeah, that leads us to an incredible scene with some Cardi B playing, and she just sort of waltzes into Marshall Fields, and without basically even. They talk, they do the typical interview thing, but she's given the job basically within minutes.
But I mean, it's, as you said, she's more than qualified. They start by saying all the things she's been able to do, and it's great that the boss or manager, Mr. Hughes, I think his name is, he is just like, you can take my job, and I love that because it's like, I know that's 100% true. Yeah, like she can easily have his job. And I like the whole conversation they have with like her trying to maintain this new identity that she created.
Right. Well, especially when he starts asking about her thoughts on collards. And like, again, this is when it first happens, you're like, oh, well, this is the things that I would like to see play out. You know what I mean? Like, and I think they do a great job of being like, all right, well, you have this magical thing now, where are the branches? Like, what are you going to do? What are we going to learn? Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, this is one of those things where she's sort of, she plays the safe bet and says, yeah, they're qualified. Anybody should be hired. But it's amazing to see that in, that.
But the whole thing that I like about it is because what we see is she is playing this safe bet and saying, oh, they should be hired, this, that, and the third, as long as they're qualified, whatever. But the response and what is normal from what Mr. Hughes says is like, that's not even why he's saying that to you. And like, why he's saying it to her is just because he doesn't want her to be uncomfortable. He doesn't want the people that he works with, the white people that he works with, to not be okay at their job. It has literally nothing at all to do with the black people there. He's just trying to like, hopefully get her to still be there. Which I find that, like, for me, is the funny part, because she's like trying to be this great person and be so open and nice, and it's like,
you don't realize you don't have to.
Yeah, it's like, you're doing too much. Like,
yeah.
And don't like those people. Don't worry about that. I just want to make sure you're good.
Yeah. Anyway, so she gets the assistant manager job and is very excited. She at this point, we hear some of those clicks and breaks
crunches.
begin, aka she's starting to transform back.
Yeah,
and before she can sort of collect her things, she sort of hustles out to the ladies' room and forgets her little vial. And we see her in the basement of the store near the wherever it is, elevators. And she's just starting to break and bleed and crack and bust, and the elevator doors closes and she's gone. But it's cool that sort of end shot is very nice where the doors are closing and she
she's
kind of
great.
like twists her head. Yeah, it's very.
I just thought the way the skin, whatever they did with that skin, or however they did that, was fantastic. Because it's like, with me, I'm watching like really, really closely the way it interacts with the clothing, the rest of her body, and it was very, very tight. Like it never looked wrong. It looked very correct every single time. The she would break. It had that, I don't know, very real feeling of like what I would think it would look like if we came out of our skin. That's what I feel like it would look like.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, the whole series is incredible. Like I said earlier on an earlier episode, like I just love the visual effects, the special effects. Like it's just such a great. Everybody did such a great job, and yeah, what a fun / interesting set that would be to be on.
Yeah.
So let's see. We move to
Montrose
entering the house of, I guess it's the bar owner, right? That's who that is.
Yeah.
And we hear a little Frank Ocean, which I think is a little too on the nose for this episode. But
I gotta.
When
agree.
I love that song. I love Frank Ocean's probably my top 5 of all time. I love him.
It's great.
But
I agree.
It was a little, and that song is perfect. That's the problem. It's like it's so good.
And I feel like it's, for us in today, it's a little too much, but 10 years from now, it'll be fine.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be fine. But I agree. It was like because like knowing what we know about the character, it's like, it's the only moment I think in the show so far for me where I was just like, okay, guys.
Like, yeah, exactly.
No music or maybe just the instrument, but it was just like it was good regardless, because it kind of the words exemplified, I feel, the relationship there. So it still works, and it's still good.
Yeah. They end up having sex sort of immediately, and
it's more like that first time with Tick and Letty. Really, it's kind of
but they're obviously
thing.
He's much more in, it's like you can tell they're both,
yes.
This has been building up.
This is what they
do.
You can tell that's what they do.
Yeah. So they have sex, and then Montrose goes down on him at the end there. And then Bad Religion ends, and we're back in Marshall Fields, where Ruby has apparently time has passed.
Yeah, gotten it together.
That sort of threw me for a loop at first when she was back. I was like, oh. Yeah. So they fixed that by adding a line that was her first day of work.
Yeah.
And we see the first interaction of Tamara, and her, which is interesting because it's Ruby in white skin grilling the first African American lady to ever work at that establishment, which is, it's a mind fuck, but yeah, so she's sort of going over her background and sort of digging as to how she got this job.
Did it, yeah, correct.
Yeah, and kind of lets slip a few things of like, to insinuate that
we
they've
definitely
met before.
See she's not like that, and that's because I didn't think about the confidence thing, but it's nice because like that kind of plays into this whole thing, because like if she was a con person, like a lot of what she's doing wouldn't work. You know what I mean? It's the idea that because she has the skin, it works so well. So, and she's not a good confidence man. Even if she was, because she's always like saying the wrong thing, talking more about herself, letting things go like that she knows, and it's just really sloppy on her part, but it still is enough.
Yeah, so they get sort of to the end of the of Ruby trying to sort of get, she's basically just trying to get her background as far as her work background and how she got that job, and in her mind she's comparing the two and being like, hey, I did all this stuff and I didn't even attempt to apply for the job per se, and then she applies on a whim, and then it's like, gets the job.
She just gets it. Yeah.
It's interesting. to see that. But anyway, back in the break room, however, we see some coworkers, a bunch of white ladies, and they try to get, she's trying to get them back from break, and they want her to live a little and try on these nice pair of shoes and high heels. And then she inquires to the ladies if Paul has gotten fresh with them, and they sort of giggle at the fact, saying that he's like a stand-up guy and has kids and would never even think to look at anybody.
Right.
Which is obviously setting up for something, because the viewer knows better. Has seen a few things. Yeah,
and this for this whole moment, this whole little area of the story when she is interacting with the ladies at home, it's kind of us seeing the other side of the white woman in this at least area, because they're just like very, loosey goosey, hanging out, not working, could care less. They're kind of running the joint, really.
Yeah.
And, it's like jarring, I feel, to Ruby to see just how like little everyone tries to do much of anything.
Yeah.
As she struggles to do anything as well while trying exponentially harder.
Yeah.
But even still, as she gets into this, she kind of lets that go and just enjoys the moment up until the point where racism kind of peeks his head back in when she begins to dance. Excuse me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
and that kind of brings her back.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's one of the lines from that stuck out to me was like when somebody's like, well, at least I don't use that other word anymore. And so like, you can definitely tell that she's feels a little out of place in that, but it's nice to see that she has that sort of upper hand and and is like, seeing the real what these ladies really are, so from there outside, we go outside, and before that, I guess they do this sort of forced invite to take them all out to the south side, which I thought was interesting. Then outside we see William in this nice 57 Chevy or something, picking up Ruby, and obviously the white coworkers are just all
in awe.
They're just just all out of whack because of and her line is great, where it's like is he with you? And he's like, only when he behaves or something like that, which I thought was great. So at that point, William and Ruby start having a little conversation, and about kissing, and about who do you want to kiss, me as Hillary or me, and they're sort of basically gets to the gist of the conversation, which is, hey, I figured out, or we're ready for the payback. We're ready for you to pay back that favor, which is a dinner party, and he gets her a dress. What she thinks is a dress in the back seat. And she opens it up, and it's just like a hostess uniform.
Yeah, because he makes it known that like the party she has to go to is not as Miss Davenport, as we would say. It is as Ruby.
Right. So let's see. Later at the party, you see her waiting on people, and people we see are the captain, who is a real piece of shit. Yeah. And you can just tell that she's seething, but doing the work. And then she heads back to the kitchen, and Christina arrives and explains that what she needs to do is leave this little something in the captain's office. Basically, going to plant something on him.
Yeah.
Did you get what that was, or what?
Oh, not at all.
Okay,
great. Whenever I see those things, I know, like I said, they do a good job of letting us know things when we need to know them. So that definitely looked like some magic Wraith White stuff. Yeah. So I was like, for me, I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it can't be good. Because they obviously don't like each other, that I do know.
Right.
So that's what I just chalked that up to.
Yeah, it's weird though, because it's like, this is he's sort of, she explains that he has killed someone.
This is the thing, because she asked her to set the whatever that piece of thing is inside of his office, and she kind of when she says no, she's like, well, do you feel anything for William at all? And
Oh, right.
through pushing that agenda kind of gets her to understand like this is for him because the captain tried to kill William, and it was only because of her that he was able to stay alive. And it's like as she tells her the lodge is hers, Williams is his, right? And don't you want to help him get his stuff back? And that kind of
Right.
like plays in
Okay.
it kind of for us, at least, as well as the story, like drives the story, but also lets us know she kind of the feelings that in the way that they talk and interact, William and Ruby, is much closer to a relationship than we probably assumed.
Right. Okay. I guess from there we go to a flashback.
It's a dream.
Yeah, or a dream. Yeah, a little dream sequence of Tick in the house, and she sees the woman again who had let him out the first time, and now in this dream is standing at the door and trying to get him to come out, and he just starts to burn up basically.
Yeah.
And then let's see, he wakes up and Letty's there with him, and they have a sweet moment, and then they're talking about sort of like he had passed out from just doing all this work and is trying to bust the code of this
the pages.
Yeah, all these pages, the pages that they had grabbed from the Indiana Jones episode. But yeah, he's sort of matching up some letters and some codes, and this is the moment where he explains to Letty that Yahima was killed, that his father didn't just let her go. He killed them, and obviously Letty doesn't take it well.
No, I feel, just to kind of foreshadow, it's like that this is even though they've been pushing and pulling and it seems like they finally came together, it's like this is like that. It's not quite a push and pull so much as like we just see like her apprehension, and like almost in the same way that Tick blew up on Montrose. It was kind of I feel like as abrupt the way that she blew up on Tick, just being like, this is evil, like all of this is evil, this is bad, this, that, and the third, like we can't do this, like why are we doing this? Because it's like before this moment she's super into it as far as we can see, super into it, helping out as much as she can. And then when he tells her that, I feel like what I wrote was kind of that she like the death is seeming to be very regular around them now, and that alarmed her and kind of made her not feel good or safe in this relationship with Tick, and kind of like why she acted in the way that she acted in that moment.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of where's the line? It's like our line has been blurred several times up until now. Like where does it stop?
When does it stop? Yeah.
Yeah. From there we go back to the party, and we see Ruby sort of wandering the hallways looking for the captain's office.
real it's good you said the confidence thing, because she is being a confidence man this entire episode, really.
Yeah, a little
she's
bit.
Really like
she
infiltrating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it seems easy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All you have to do is go into the captain's office and throw this thing in his desk drawer. Of course, she does. She does that. She finds the office, plants the thing, and then investigates the closet after hearing something. And there's this, what I wrote down is just basically a zombie at this point.
Yeah.
And freaks her out. But at the same time, the captain starts to enter, and so she just ducks in with this gimpish, zombie-ish, whatever he is. And we learn as the racists talk, and she's in there holding the mouth of this guy whose name's Zidane. And apparently he stole some money, and I guess this is their form of interrogation. We're just throwing him in a closet and stringing him up and like, or I guess he wasn't hanging in there, but like tie him down, and he's bleeding and grunting and
a little
torturing him. Yep. That's the word I was looking for in the last 5 minutes. So anyway, they talk about that, and then have a little discussion of Christina. Then we're back in Marshall. I don't know if you have anything to add to that scene.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
As she's sitting in there and he's talking, he proceeds to take off his shirt, and he asked the dude with him to get a shirt from the what's it called, the stand. But what you see, and it's hard to kind of tell if you're not really looking, is that he has a black man's skin on his body. It's pretty much the torso. The arms are good. It's just like where you would get a farmer's tan, pretty much. So it's like almost like he's wearing a black person t-shirt.
Really?
Kinda. And I couldn't tell at first through the closet, but they have they have an angle closer that is like really directly looking at him, and you can see it's hard. It's kind of hard to tell if you're not focusing on it, but yes, he has black people's skin
Interesting.
stitched onto his body.
Whoa.
And that for me, like, it was just like, okay, the magic obviously is like, he's a dude with magic or whatever.
He's fighting for it too.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's kind of like, that's been a thing. I mean, even in like Get Out and everything like that, the whole taking of the black man and like putting his body into their body is a thing. So like when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's interesting to see it, like to see it like that was.
It's weird. Yeah, crazy. It just it flew past me, but now I'm watching it again and I see what you mean. It's like it's like a
little t-shirt.
Yeah, farmer tan. Like an inverted farmer tan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she is in the they continue their talk, and we basically make it back to Marshall Fields, and it's again another time jump. And we see that Ruby is now on edge.
Yeah, freaked.
Just she's somehow made it out of there and is just freaked out. But she's done her due diligence, so she's in theory.
Good. She's nothing to be scared of. It's just the what she saw in there. It's kind of like the same thing that kind of happened to Letty. You know, it was just like, okay, this is. I knew it was one thing, but now this is like a whole nother thing. Right. This is like kind of like it's jumping rungs on them, I feel like, and going from like little to huge immediately. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of what's like throwing them all out of whack. And she proceeds to, in Marshall Fields, blow up on Tamara, the only other black girl. Because it's like, I feel like at that moment, the only person she could talk to, I guess, about this stuff, even though she is a white person talking to her. But she's like kind of lets it slip that white people are losing their minds and she's got to do a whole bunch more to be good at what she is.
Right.
And
they have got shit you can't even imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a great, because the other one was a little abrupt for me, but this one is kind of great where it's like you see she's shook and
it makes much more sense.
Yeah.
This one.
But yeah, so she exactly what you said. She's just sort of trying to explain how it is to her, but also the manager comes up at the end and they sort of she sort of invites. Now she's taken the cue of like inviting. She invites the group.
It was her sloppy way of getting out of why she's yelling at this black lady randomly at the store.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I'm just excited. Obviously.
Microsoft Teams is helping a bicycle company reinvent the way that they work.
We make low-maintenance bicycles for everyday riders. Once the pandemic hit, we had nobody coming into the showroom, so we started doing virtual visits via Microsoft Teams.
We're able to see 2 or 3-fold the amount of customers we used to be able to see. All of a sudden, we could open up our showroom to customers around the world. I really think it's going to set a standard for retail moving forward.
Learn more at Microsoft.com/Teams.
But yeah, so they're invited to Southside on Tamara's behalf, basically. Yeah, Southside Hoedown. There we moved back to, I guess it's the bar owner's apartment or somewhere.
No, this is like the like a burlesque show. So like the
backstage or the
backstage
green room
at the burlesque.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see a group of his friends and Montrose sort of looking incredibly out of place, and they're sort of playing up the fact, there's obviously been spots here and there where obviously the sex earlier, but
actually, now that I look at it, sorry to interrupt.
No,
it might be the apartment. I think you're right.
Either way, they're somewhere a group before the show, and Montrose is sort of looks out of place and quiet, and then they've been sort of building on this for a while, like how do they bring him out of the closet?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's done that himself from the previous scene pretty flawlessly by sleeping with the guy pretty having passionate sex, basically.
At least for me, I feel like the transformation isn't so much that he's gay, because I think he knows that, and he's not I don't think he has a problem in himself with being gay, but he has a huge problem with the rest of anybody else knowing that. And in that in the scene inside the apartment, it's nice because the way that the dialogue goes, you kind of understand the relationship of the two of them. So we can see that like they've been together and been doing things together for a while.
Right.
And the friends know this. So it's like, it's not like, and he seems to be in between fighting and accepting this, kind of in the transformation stage. And it's nice kind of to see him let it go. I think that's his really accepting what's going on, is just letting the surroundings happen without lashing out himself.
It certainly is a transformative episode, as you said before. It's like they're certainly using that metaphor of butterflies and transforming on sort of every character, to be honest. But yeah.
And also, just one last thing, they made it a big point to talk about, because they said like, oh, you guys are together, whatever. He was like, yeah, but he hasn't even kissed him.
Right.
And like that for me, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Because it's like when we saw them have sex, as much as they were cool with it or whatever, it didn't seem, there was no love inside of it. Like it was just two people fighting the emotion within them, kind of. And that kind of solidified that. And it was nice to hear that, like, just openly, that's the problem, is that like the love is what he needs to let into himself.
Yeah, amazing. It's well said. Yeah. And you could tell, and especially, they especially when earlier when Tick was like, he hit me a lot and stuff, like you can, it's just sort of rounding out this guy
exactly,
and these demons. But from there we head to the Denmark Vesey bar, and it is hopping.
It is hopping.
Yeah, very much so. We see, dancing, all the classic bar dance stuff.
Yeah.
But we move to the Marshall table, as I called it, and it's certainly you just can feel sort of the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where it's, like they're sitting back, and it's like, they're there, and they want to be there. It was just a unsettling sort of feeling to me.
Yeah, it was. It was tough.
Or maybe not unsettling, but
not. I mean, unsettling is kind of correct, because it's unsettling for Tamara, as you can see. She's very. I don't want to say haphazardly, because that's not correct. It's just she's very like hesitantly drinking a lot, I guess you could say, because she's like, you could tell the nervousness, because she in this space, say by herself or with her friends, probably fine, but the fact that she's there with all those other women and kind of playing halfway host, is I could tell super troubling for her,
right?
And even though they could care less, and they just hop right onto the dance floor, and it's like.
Right.
Party time.
Right. Says the band is groovy.
Yeah.
Which I thought that must be the first mention of groovy in that decade.
Right. Wow. I didn't think
that's an early groovy reference.
I didn't even think about that. That's true.
So at some point they get up and the white ladies ask Tam to show them the bunny hop tango, and they go out and dance. Ruby stays, and you could tell that this is the point where she's like, what have I done?
Yeah.
What like now I've seen sort of, I think she's on that edge now of like, what, why am I doing this? Why it's not, I don't know. You could tell there's a big
what she
sort of,
thought, what she thought, I feel like is really backfiring in her mind from every, like all the different avenues. I feel like she thought this way would go and how she would be as a white woman doing these
Right.
things. It's kind of just like it's as hollow as really anything, not leaving her fulfilled as she thought it would. I feel.
Right. So from there, we see her going to the outside, to the alley, and she gives a good sort of she contemplates the vial and sort of destroys it in her hand, and then starts her transformation back to Ruby.
Yeah.
My note is it's gross and awesome because it's just so good. It's great television.
And the just a little insight into that. I feel like just a little bit more for that transformation. I feel like is different than all the others because it's like on her own, pushing the skin off of her, and she broke the vial on her own to kind of like, as I was saying, she's like very disillusioned with how all this has been taking place.
Right.
So it's like kind of her being like, you know what, forget all this. I'm good on all this, and I'm going to strip and take this second skin that I kind of grew into, take it off and kind of go back into myself. And in doing so, she kind of finds herself in the back alley, seeing a little darker side of Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, and then that's where sort of the Mr. Hughes, the real Mr. Hughes comes out, where he attacks Tamara and just says some really fucked up things like, "Let me smell it. I heard you girls smell sweet down there."
Right.
Just some really fucked up things to say, and then she, I think, bites him on the neck or something and runs away.
Yeah,
and then he screams profanities at her. But at that point, obviously, what I believe what they're saying is like it's cemented now. She made the right decision. Ruby has, because there is that buildup, I'm thinking about it at the table. I have the vial. I crushed the vial. I go back to my regular skin. And then now you see it's just reinforcing the fact that her inner sort of navigation system was correct all along. Where that just because you put a suit on of a different skin type or whatever, any sort of something other than yourself, then it's not gonna always work out. So, but yeah, I just thought it was a really great way to end the scene where it was like, yeah, you were right all along. I mean, obviously, you want to see her sort of wander through that a little bit, which we did, and I think, like you said, it was how they did it in the stages they did it, I think was really good.
Yeah, because you kind of you see just like we really got to see the way. I mean, I feel like Ruby is smart, and it's great to see a smart woman like herself really go through these changes. Have to not just allow stuff to happen to her, but really go okay, I'm going to do this. And because it's like in the first thing you could think, okay, why is she going to go? She's going to go and shop. That's what you would think. Say she's a white woman. She's got money. She's going to go shop. Right. She goes to get a job. And then she goes to get that job. And then even in the job, she's like, this isn't fulfilling as she thought it would be. Right. Why even try to do these things for these people when they are exactly as I thought them to be? And I have to after because she was in the mindset thinking, I do good and I do all this, it'll always work out. And she realizes that that's not how it works. Right. She's got to get a little bit more gritty.
Right. So after that, we're back at the club, and we see Montrose again as sort of looking on, and he's not quite there in his metamorphosis, but at that point, the bar owner comes back. I don't know his name. I should write down his name at some point, but the bar owner comes back around and offers his hand, and they dance, and you just see a change. You see his sort of butterfly moment of feeling a little freer and a little more comfortable in his skin and with who he is. And at that point, after they dance, another woman offers to dance, and they're just sort of all he just goes all in. He's you can just tell that this is the feels he's been looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
But he does the arms wide open, the Creed look from above, dancing, and then the bar owner grabs him and kisses him, which I thought was very good.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
One thing about that scene, I kind of realized, because when I saw Ruby, the one thing when she first became the white lady and she was into it, she wore that outfit and she had red gloves, and the red gloves for me kind of, I don't know, it just highlighted something. And I found it very interesting that when Montrose is in this moment, he's wearing this amazing red button down. And it's just like, for me, I feel like it's, at least I would say, using those colors as a sign of transformation. I don't know exactly what they mean by it, but it means something, because it's like,
oh, definitely.
I've never even seen a button down, like, because it's like almost invisible, you know, it's like see-through, excuse me. It's like red but see-through. It's like it's I was taken by the button down, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess I didn't.
But I only noticed because, like, when I saw the gloves, I was like, oh, those gloves are, and it's a similar shade. That's the kind of why I felt that way. And,
gotcha. Okay.
I saw the gloves and they just popped in a certain way, and I feel like it's this person that's not, maybe just thinking right now, it's like they're the only thing that makes them look out of place.
See, I don't know if it's a red shirt or if it's just white shirt with a red light on it.
Well, if you look at the others, there's white shirts that you can see.
Oh, okay.
You can see white in the room.
Okay.
So, because I kind of thought the same thing as well.
Right. But yeah, it's just an incredible scene of, especially his storyline up to this point. It's, you could just tell it's an incredible step. But we go back to the mansion, and Christina arrives to a bloody Ruby who had just transformed. They sit and chat, and basically tries to assure her that she knows how she's feeling. And one of the great lines of this is like, the only thing you white women are disillusioned with is yourselves. The magic isn't just about being white; it's about doing whatever the fuck you want. You know, that was sort of the line that she came back with. But I just like the obviously Christina's on a whole nother level than she knows, but like, just to say that to, like, listen, you don't know where I have been. You don't know anything about me. And that you're just as disillusioned as the women I have just worked with, basically. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's nice because she's like, she definitely agrees.
Yeah.
Which is, I like that about, because it's like, she's, as far as for everything that Christina is, you can't really call what she's doing, who she is type thing yet, I'd say, but she's honest. Yeah. That much I have seen, and that much I appreciate.
Right. And then we move to Christina just explaining that the magic isn't just about being white. It's about doing whatever the fuck you want. Unmitigated freedom.
Exactly.
And then ask the question, a little callback, who are you really, uninterrupted? Yeah. Which leads us, I mean, I don't know if you have anything else about this scene, but leads us to an incredible scene back at Marshall's, where she quits the job and sort of starts coming on to Mr. What's his face?
Hughes,
So yeah, and you can tell, like, she's trying to drag out of him who he really is, because she's seen it, you know. She saw it last night or the night, whatever that happened. And then she sort of starts coming on to him pretty hard. Grabs his belt and ties it around his neck. Really wants to, like, you know, I'm sure his mind is like, oh well, okay, this is you know, this is like,
gonna be great.
Yeah, exactly. Until, you know, the pain starts, and then it's I don't know. Basically, she gets tied up by she ties him up with the belt around the neck, and then lays him down and just rams her heel into his ass over and over and over while Cardi B plays.
Right.
Which I thought, again, it's just what you want to see. That's what I wanted. I wanted to see him in pain. You know what I mean? Like, so I get the scene, I get the point, but then you hear cracking again, and like she's finally, for hopefully the last time, and you know what you presume is the last time, her white body falling off of her, and
correct.
You see bloody Ruby just standing above him, and you know, she's back. Ruby's back. She's herself finally. Anything you want to add to that? I'm sorry. I'm trying to. We're running long.
I hear you. No, with that, it was just nice because that's like the final culmination of her.
Yeah.
Like you said, coming out of her body, and it was beautiful to see. She let it all hang out, and that's kind of what we kind of realized they were trying to have happen. You know, trying to have Ruby just accept who she is, and that is enough. Like, it's not so much about everybody else as it is to be who you are, because who you are is strong enough.
Right. Let's see. We head back to Letty's house, and she's tubbing. She is enjoying a nice bath. Tick arrives, asks her if she's okay, and saying that she's been sort of praying for Yahima. And this sort of gets into a conversation about faith, and specifically her mom's faith and how she would drag them to church. She mentions the fact about, I guess talks about finding something good. I don't know what that was in reference to.
Well, the thing I think, because is like the last thing we mentioned is that push and pull, and she was fearful of the evil that was coming around them.
Right.
So this is kind of her being like, hey, like this is like Montrose, like Ruby, their culmination of transformation as a couple, being like, I've accepted everything that you are. Here is me. I have a problem with this evil that, and like we said, we're pushing this boundary of like, we're killing people, we're doing this, that,
Right.
like, what's really going on here? And she's kind of just like, yo, like, I like kind of looking for him to give her some reassurance in like what is happening, like what is this, like where do we go with this? And I think they come to terms, because he's like, he opens up about Korea and the stuff that happened back there,
Right.
and why I think he's doing all this stuff, I guess.
Yep.
And she takes it in, not too happy about hearing about another woman.
Yeah, she asked if he was in love, and he didn't know, and yeah. The thing I get, sorry to
no, this is fine.
The thing I gathered, like, that I thought was very great about the scene was that both of them and a lot of these characters are trying to sort of rage against the way that they were raised, and the way that, and and sort of like they're realizing that none of them had good examples.
Yeah.
A lot of them, Montrose obviously turned his I'm sure it was trickled down to him, and now it trickled down to, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I think it was really good to see, like, hey, regardless of where we come from, it's what we do when we push forward, and what, regardless of our bad examples. And I thought it was a sweet moment.
Yeah, it was like we said, it was final. Like, over all the episodes, this was the first time where it was like, okay, these two are together and they are good with each other.
Yeah.
Like, this is like 100%, and everything's out in the open and they're good. And like, I feel like that was like their final transformation point. And then we get like after that, because I feel like that completes that.
He is, I guess my only note is that he assures Letty that what they have is special. It's like they really, it's one of the transformation things. It's like that's their sort of completion, at least for the moment.
Exactly.
And then we move back to the mansion, and Ruby is even more inquisitive and demanding almost, and she's saying, what's in the basement, and what do you guys are in there all hours of the night, and blah blah blah. And then you see William start to hear cracks, and this is sort of what we've presumed for a long time, but he starts turning and cracking and bending and bleeding, and then of course she stands up out of this, as I said before, white clay of racism.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And she stands up, and it's Christina. It's been her the whole time.
The whole time.
And the thing is, though, watching her transform like that, this is where my mind went. It was like, you see her transform. It's awesome. It cinematically looks great. But then it's like, hey, do you remember when you just went around the bush and then came back and you were Christina? Do you remember that scene where they dropped off? It's like, now you're covered in blood. Like, that's going to take some time.
But we do. The whole thing is,
I guess it could have been somebody else.
She said William died, right? So, like, when he died, because he said the captain killed him.
Right. In the ditch. Threw him in the ditch.
So we could say he did that after he assaulted those men. If that was him. but that's just like
interesting. Okay.
Because like
Oh,
when
right.
when you
Oh,
said
right.
that, when you said they switched, I was like, that didn't make. I was just like, I didn't think about it like that at first. I just kind of felt like two people coming out of different doors. But like the way you said it kind of made more sense. But now, because like when I first watched it, I was like, he never existed type thing. But then hearing more about that he was killed by the captain,
That's interesting.
I feel like there's got to be a moment at least. And I feel like that's the only moment I can kind of understand that like there would be a break and then he would kill him after that. Because I don't think there would be any reason for him to kill him before that, at least from our perspective.
Right.
What we've seen.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's a very valid point. And I guess I guess again, that's probably why that guy's in the closet too. Well, no, that was to do with money, but I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. That's a connection I never made. Interesting. Let's see. So yeah, she's Christina in full form, and then we sort of now those words that she had said in the past of like unmitigated freedom and who are you uninterrupted, like this you're seeing that she is sort of spearheaded all of this since her father died and he has died. So I guess it sort of makes sense that she's alone now, minus the people that she is
employing to help her.
Yeah, which is I've never really thought of, but you think there's at least two people there all the time, but now it's like anyway. She's Christina, always has been, always will be, and then we head back to the basement for our last scene of the episode, and Tick finally decodes one of the word combos, and it says suffer. And then he somehow that clicks in his head, and he runs to the phone and dials this crazy long number. And I didn't even know they had that many phones back in the day. And then
I immediately was like, "How much does that cost?"
Yeah, right. But basically runs to the phone and then just asks, "How did you know?" into the receiver, and the voice says, "You believe me now? You should have listened to me." Right. Which is another one of these like. And then this has happened several times. Yeah.
What are you?
It's a good tactic.
Say, what are you? Or are you? Or are you?
Yeah. Tick asks, "What are you?" And the line goes dead.
Yeah.
And then we look back and we see in his notebook that he has decoded another 3 letters that says die.
Die. Yeah.
Now, what that means, nobody knows until we go to the next episode. This one, I tell you what, man, this one I was so happy to watch. It's a weird one, and I love that it's a Ruby episode.
Yes.
I think I learned a lot, and it's just such a beautiful. Again, I don't know what genre this falls into. We were talking about what the codes.
This one's hard. I feel like they get harder and harder. But Metamorphosis. So I mean, you could. I'd say like maybe a Cronenberg type deal. Maybe some Chronos or something like that. It's just like one of those that it's like you said. It's like it's in the special effects. It's in that like that kind of leads the horror, gore, fantasy aspect, and we kind of keep it really about people, but the horror aspect is in the special effects and how like the skin and all that type of thing. Because like that leads me to like Kronos or like Cronenberg or Guillermo del Toro type areas of otherworldly, although very placed in like the world that we live in. You know what I mean? A lot of magic in those movies.
Yeah. It's I love it. I just think they've done such a good job with it, and I don't know if they announced that another season's happening, or
they haven't. They haven't announced.
I feel like it's been a raging success. So I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
But
that.
Yeah, I can't wait. There's a lot of things I can't wait for. I can't wait to see D come back.
Oh, yeah, right.
Lyda. I really want to know where they go with their storyline, and there's a lot of good stuff coming. And then the next episode, which I have already watched, I know you have too, is even more of a fucking left turn, than what this was. So yeah, I'm excited to get through that one, because that one I really I won't
gonna
talk
be fun.
much more about it, but basically, it's a bit of a different episode than this.
Yeah.
Much like the difference between the first two, like you were saying, and then the third and fourth. But yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and we will be back with another episode soon. Sebastian, thank you so much, man.
Thank you again. It's always fun.
Give him a look on his socials. Bassamillion, mostly everywhere, and North South on the
Tidal, Instagram. Instagram too, but all the music streaming services. You can look up North South, and you'll find music there from us. SoundCloud as well.
There you go. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Sebastian.
Thank you.
Going Dork stars and is produced by me, Jeremy Balon. For more information on the show, visit goingdork.com and find us on all the socials as Going Dork. We are a part of the Seltzer Kings family of podcasts. For more information on them, check out seltzerkings.com. And if you want to continue the conversation, give me a shout on my socials at Remy Balon on most things, at Jeremy Balon on the Instagram. Thanks for listening.